What do you get when you take some therapists and put them in front of a screen to watch something creeping back from childhood that should have never been for children or preteens? They're gonna dive right in and reassess those flicks. What's more scary and disturbing than you realize and gave you nervous tics? They're the movies that traumatized us.
About trauma, and boy howdy, do we have it for you tonight.
Yes, my girl has a bunch of mental health stuff from panic attack, hypochondria, blended family dynamics, grief, lots of loss.
This movie's big on grief, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's all about grief.
Yeah, it really is. This movie is all about grief. If you didn't realize this movie was all about grief, well, now you do. And this movie is all about loss.
This is gonna be one of those nights with the camera.
Oh yeah, you are frozen already. I see that. That was unexpected.
Yep. Sorry, I'm gonna mess up the screen for a minute.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, that was actually really quick. It popped and came right back. So yeah, this movie. I don't know what to tell you guys other than this movie is something else.
We avoided this movie for a reason.
Yeah. We really, this movie was on our list. 2-3 months ago.
And it was on the list at the very beginning.
Yeah,
and
I mean, honestly, because we talked about it long before anybody even put it on the list, and we avoided coming to this movie.
I mean, it came out in 1991, and you want to talk about being a tearjerker even then.
Oh man,
I mean, because as a kid, I hadn't experienced that amount of grief that I have to this day. And even then, I was like, what the fuck? No, not Thomas J.
Well, I mean, like, it's just, you know what? The funny thing is that, this movie, they give you all the foreshadowing really early. If you're paying attention, like, pretty fast that he's gonna die. If you guys didn't know that, spoiler, sorry. But if you didn't know...
You've had 20 years to watch this show, guys. 20 years. If you didn't know by now.
If you didn't know by now, now you know. But, okay, so they really do foreshadow a lot pretty early. I mean, they talk about how Thomas J is allergic to everything.
Yeah, everything. They bring in the child-sized casket that Veta's asking about.
Oh, God, yeah, that was so messed up when they bring that in. She's like, is that for a child?
And I like how the dad
kind of it's for short people.
They come in all sizes, honey.
It's for short people.
But really, is it for a child?
Dodge. Just expert, honestly, expert dodging. That's the parent who doesn't want to answer the hard question and just dodges. And it was a really good dodge because he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. He gave her a factual answer. He just avoided answering her question in doing so.
But Veta, being the irascible child that she is, the one who asks all the hard questions that most parents go, please don't be my kid. Please don't be my kid.
I mean, I want my kid to ask me hard questions. I would rather have to struggle to answer her truthfully than her never ask me hard questions and then later be like, why didn't you ever ask me these things when you were younger?
Right.
I mean, there's bonuses to both, I guess.
Well, just like everything in life, there are pros and cons.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's all about choices, guys. So we get these characters. So we've got Veta. obviously, and then we have Thomas J, who we already mentioned. Those are our two main characters. Then we've got Dan Aykroyd, who plays Veta's dad.
I don't remember.
Huh?
I don't remember his name. Besides, Sultan Fuss is their last name.
Yeah, he's Mr. Sultan Fuss. I like. Did they even tell us his name? I can't remember.
They did because Shelley said it a couple times.
Yeah. Part of me is like, it's Joe, but it's not Joe. That's just a generic. This is just a generic name I'm throwing out there. It's Joe. You know what? Let's find out. Let's find out what his name was. In My Girl 2, everybody came back and played all their characters. The brother, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back, plays, and now she's Sally Sultan Fuss or whatever. The gal who played Veta comes back. The only one who didn't come back was Macaulay Culkin. So
well, he kind of did.
He would have had to be a zombie. I mean, they could have zombied him. It would have made for an interesting
flashbacks of how she would have thought he would be.
Huh?
And I think that would change the way that the movie, because the second movie was all about her journey into finding out where she came from.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And I think the big thing in the second one was
Harry. Harry was his name.
Harry. That Harry wasn't her real dad.
What?
I think that was the premise of the second one that she found out at the very end.
I'll be honest with you, I never watched the second one because my thing was that all I could think was that the second one was going to be just like the first one, and I didn't want to watch that shit.
When I watched the second one last night, it was like, these two are going to become cousins. If her uncle marries this girl that she's now walking around with the girlfriend's son, and they kiss and all this stuff, and I'm like, so they're gonna be kissing cousins. This is gonna make life awkward after that. Yeah. Hashtag awkward.
I mean, alrighty then. I would have to watch the second one. I mean, I've never watched it, so to be fair, that would mean I would have to watch it and see, because I thought that second one was all about finding out about her mom.
It is, and when she finds out about her mom, she finds out that she dated this guy and left him right before she met her dad.
But is she really not his child then?
I think that's the premise. I'm not 100% sure. But I think that was the bomb. And he's like, I didn't know about you until she said something before you were born.
I mean, I could see it being more like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't speculate. I would have to watch it and see how it played out. But, that being said, really, this movie, like, a lot of what we like about this movie is that it really covers a lot of ground on grief. It covers a lot of ground on blended families. It covers a lot of ground on, well, it actually introduces you, if you hadn't ever been introduced to it, hypochondria. But it also kind of, I think, really covers the ground in this kind of strange way about growing up in a home that is also a morgue or a mortuary.
Yeah, mortuary.
And having to deal with the fact that, your house is always sort of filled with dead people.
Yeah, shrouded in death, yet Veta has never really dealt with the death of her mother.
Right. And we don't really cover much about her mom in the movie. And you don't even really find out that her mom died in childbirth.
Yeah, it was alluded to when she said, I killed my mother.
Right.
But then it's like, okay.
Right. And you don't, like, they leave a lot of things kind of off.
Right.
About the grand scheme of what happened in the movie. But all in all, it was a really good movie. It really is a great movie. If you've never seen it, definitely watch it. It is worth a watch. despite the fact that we're going to give you a ton of spoilers here. But hopefully that will prepare you going forward for the big reveal and the tearjerker moment. You'll have some prep. You'll know it's coming, and you won't be as traumatized by it as, say, I was when I watched this movie as a kid.
Yeah, the movie's set in 1972, so almost like Norman Rockwell-esque painting of 1972 Madison, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I like the opening scene is really quirky of what it would be like to live in a mortuary.
Do we have the opening scene?
Yeah, we do. I think that's the number one.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is. It is. All right, let's play the opening scene for you guys. In fact, I actually already have it loaded because I did my job tonight. I am on top of things, despite the fact that I am exhausted, worn out, and just mentally all over the place. Let's check it out here. And there, of course, is Off Kilter. How did that happen? I fixed that earlier.
Alright, who's in? Raise your hand. Are you coming or not, Thomas J? I don't think so. I knew he wouldn't come. I can't. I have to go home. Yeah, to play with his dolls. Leave him alone. Come on, let's go.
I like how it's a crime for him to play with dolls.
Yeah, and I like how she stands up for him. Leave him alone.
You didn't pay me. How do I know you're gonna show us one? You're such a baby. All right.
She's like a fast businesswoman there,
follow me
too.
and don't
Like, you didn't
Legit.
pay me.
You want to see a dead body? Fork over the dollars.
Yeah.
You ready?
I mean, Veta right now could be a con artist if you just watch this all the way through.
Right? Exactly.
You sure you want to see it? Or is someone gonna go yellow belly? I'm not checking. Okay. Lean forward. It's empty. You're so weird. I want my money back.
That kid is me right there. I want my money back.
Well, sometimes when we get them,
It's empty.
they're not completely dead. You know, like when they cut a chicken's head off and they still run around crazy. You're full of shit. I bet she's roaming around this house somewhere.
I forgot about this part.
Mm-hmm.
There she is, in the rocking chair.
Way to use your grandma, man. Brilliant. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. And I love how she goes and thanks her grandma. Like,
I love you, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
aww. So sweet. So sweet.
The family that cons together stays together.
Right? Legit. So this scene is great. It really is because it's very idyllic. It's very calm, very, kind of this humorous opening, and you don't really get a sense of like the underlying danger in this movie that's coming. It really opens on a very high note. Most movies try to reel you in real fast. They did not try to reel you into this very fast. They literally were like, check it out. It's funny. It's cute. You see Thomas J and the whole, crime to go play with dolls. It really, Thomas J's parents, for that day and age, not really helicopter parents, which of course they wouldn't have been in the 70s anyways, but they just wanted him to come home to, eat dinner and, take care of the stuff that he had to take care of around the house. His parents actually trusted him to be a very responsible child.
Right.
Which you learn kind of later in the movie. You find out that his parents are really just sort of like, nah, he can do what he needs to do. He knows what his limitations are. And, he knows when he's supposed to come home to eat dinner. And they knew pretty much where he was all the time. And this comes back to being a latchkey kid, really, let's be honest. and anybody who grew up in the 80s and early 90s is gonna have had that experience. Our parents all pretty much were like, go do your thing. Like, where are you going? Just tell me where you're going. Call me when you get there. And tell me when you're coming home.
Yep, pretty much.
And other than that, your parents didn't know where you were 24/7. You said you were going to somebody's house. Your parents assumed you went there. And if you went there and you called and you were like, yeah, I'm over at so-and-so's house, let me talk to their parent. Yeah, they're here. And then you left and went somewhere else. They didn't fucking know.
Yeah, it was like that whole, you could get away with, well, I'm staying at so-and-so's house. Well, they said I was going to stay at your house, and that would work. And then you could go do whatever you were going to do.
Right. Exactly. And, like, that would never work in this day and age.
No, we have these things called electronic leashes that are phones.
Right. So, you know, it would never work in this day and age. But also, in this day and age, we also don't do the whole latchkey kid thing. We don't, despite the fact, honestly, here's the weird thing. So if we want to get into weird statistics, it's safer now to be a latchkey kid than it was in the 80s and the early 90s. But we're more paranoid now, and we wouldn't let our kids do that. Even though it's actually safer now.
I mean, even now, like, you had surveillance cameras back then, like back in the 80s and 90s, but they weren't as high-tech as they are now.
Right.
Where you can literally live stream what your kids are doing in your house.
Yeah.
Or outside your house. I mean, the Ring doorbell and all that. So nowadays, it is safer. You can be at work and still have so you see what your kids are doing.
Right.
But then it was like, oh, well.
Well, and not only that, but then it's like, it's not even just like, oh, does your house have cameras? Well, then your neighbors' houses have cameras, and their neighbors have cameras, and so, like, and so literally everybody is watching the neighborhood now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, sorry guys, but Big Brother, it's actually us. It's not the government. It's us. We watch everything.
I mean, and back in the day, Big Brother was the curtain mafia with, like, the old people that would stare outside the windows all day long to see what was going on.
Okay, so I'm gonna... Self-disclosure moment. I was raised by my grandmother. I totally do that. I still do that. Like, hey, look, I'm taking up both screens again. I gotta wait. We know what causes this to happen, but it didn't get fixed before this episode.
We're still trying to figure out what causes this.
I'm pretty sure we know what causes it.
The VPN's not on.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I just double checked it. It's not on.
I don't know. I thought you said you didn't get it turned off.
I never turned it on, apparently. So it turned off.
Shit, then I don't have an answer. But okay, so what I was saying before that happened is that I do that. I am totally that person because I was raised by my grandmother. This is what my grandmother did all the time. So like even now, like I get up and I hear noises, so I just like peek out the blinds. Like I hate to say that I am guilty of that, but I really am. And back then in the 70s, the 80s, 90s, that's what fucking everybody did, man. They were like, "Do you see them out there, Howard? What are they looking at? What's going on?"
And kids would ride bikes everywhere or walk.
Oh yeah, you rode your bike. I mean, shit, we used to... Okay, so there was this place... I mean, I know we're tangenting, and somebody complained about our tangents. I love our tangents. There's this place called Dairy King, back in my hometown. And where I grew up, the street I grew up on, and where it was, we're about 5 miles apart. Right? And it was actually way out west on on Highway 34. And we used to ride our bikes out there all the time. Totally not a safe thing to do.
I mean,
we used to ride our bikes out there though and be like, do just gonna go out to Dairy King. We used to ride to downtown in my hometown. Also wasn't a safe thing to do, and it was like another like 3 miles to drive to ride to downtown. And we had to go out like onto like Highway 287. So to get, well, we didn't have to take 287 to get there. We could take the roads that went through the neighborhoods to get there as well. But, you know, and so we would do that too. We would just ride downtown so we could go to the comic shops. And
we did that too. Like,
yeah,
our rollerblades or skateboards or whatever.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah, Mom, I'm staying at so-and-so's house, and then we go down to the Winn-Dixie or
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
Okay, so we used to go to this place we called The Ditch. It's, the name says it all, in case you were wondering. So, actually, it was like maybe 5 blocks from my house to the east. And it actually was behind the lot that eventually became, well, but we used to say we would, like, if we went to Walmart, we would go past the ditch, because the Walmart was built on the lot where the ditch actually was. And so, and this was back before I hated Walmart, so whatever. But we would go there, and we would hang out at the ditch. Totally not, it was a drainage ditch, obviously. But, like, the spot we would go, there were train tracks, and it was like this little dam. Wow, this sounds really, Stand By Me right now.
Yep. Which is another one, apparently.
Stand By Me has been one I've been thinking about that we should do, but I haven't suggested it yet because we already had my girl on the list, and I was like, do I want to throw Stand By Me into the mix?
So we can do that for November or next year.
Ooh, yeah, we could do that one for November. I like that. But we used to go there, and it was like this, like, 8-foot drop down into the ditch. Not always filled with water. Usually people, like, threw Walmart shopping carts in there. It was trashed, right? But we used to go hang out there all the time. We thought it was hilarious. We stopped hanging out there after a friend of ours decided in the wintertime to walk out onto the water that was iced over, and he fell in. And we had to rescue him. So the rest of us, we were literally chain ganging it, like, with arms out to get him and pull him out of the water. And then we all went home and acted like nothing happened until his dad called one of the parents, who then called the, and literally it started the chain. Called the other parents, and then it was, have you been down at the ditch? No,
So
we
you
don't go to
almost
the ditch
had a
anymore.
full
That's not what I
there.
heard. My ass was in so much trouble. But, anyways, back on topic. Stories aside, anecdotally. Life. It was great. What did Veta have to worry about? Nothing, except dead bodies in her house.
The Mean Girls, which is, I think, is the next clip.
Do we have
You
that?
know,
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
because now we have, like, cyberbullying and stuff, but back then it was just, you know, bullies would come around or be at school. It's not 24/7.
Yeah. We've got that clip. Hold on, let me get it loaded up. Should be this one right here.
Who's winning?
I am. Veta, her little boyfriend. He is not my boyfriend. I bet you kissed him on the lips. Do you think I kissed that ugly old thing? Yeah, anyway. Come on, let's go. Judy's father.
Thomas J's face is
Theater.
great.
We get to see all the movies we want for free. Maybe you can come sometime. Ew, don't invite her. She'll have to bring her boyfriend. Veta and Thomas sitting in a tree. Kissing. First
Then you have, like, Judy just straggling along, foreshadowing that she really liked Veta.
Right?
You know, Veta, you shouldn't let those girls upset you.
I'm not upset. I will never play with those girls. I only surround myself with people who I find intellectually stimulating.
Intellectually stimulated.
Chocolate?
And then you got Thomas J's face like, she called me intellectually stimulating.
He's allergic to
So this is, like, Veta is sapiosexual, for all of those who don't know
Right.
what sapiosexual means.
Ooh, a pretty
Intellectually stimulating.
mood ring. It tells what mood I'm in.
Ah, the
It
first
doesn't
piece of
work. It always says
foreshadowing.
black.
The
It's a
mood ring.
You're wrong because you put me in a bad mood.
ring. Maybe black means you're happy.
I don't think so. Shirley, how can I get $35?
Or it means that you're happy.
She's crazy. She wants to go to school over the summer.
And Thomas J
It's
makes
not
you
a real
happy.
school. It's a writing class. I want to be a writer.
Cheryl wants to go because her sweet
Ah,
pie is a teacher.
That's right.
Shut your
Our
big
love
fat
for
mouth.
our love for teacher.
I think you'd make a
Oh, I
fine
have
writer.
that. I have that clip
Did you ask
too.
your dad?
Veta's crush.
He won't
Oh
give
my
it to
gosh. So, this girl, man, holy cow. This girl completely infatuated with her teacher. Like, to the
This
point...
whole coming of age.
Yeah. It's like really creepy how much she's infatuated with her teacher.
Yeah.
I
Like the song that's on there is like the Wedding Bells song when she's singing to the picture.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Won't you see my wedding day? It's like, what? Okay, so we got Hot for Teacher going on.
Yeah, we got hot for teacher. So, but we do get our first piece of foreshadowing in this scene because this scene happens pretty early in the movie. It happens before the kid's casket comes in, I think.
Maybe. Because I think that no,
No, it's right after.
Shelley's interview was the kid's casket.
Yeah. And this is Shelley coming out from her interview, isn't it? No, she was more done up that day. This is
She had on that short dress and the go-go boots on.
Yeah. She wasn't going there for an interview.
Well, she thought it was at a salon where you had to be trendy, not a funeral home.
Parlor. Yes. Yeah, she was shocked by that, but then she was like, "But I really need this job."
And I think she had already thought Harry was cute, and
yeah, but then also like, didn't oh man, we had a whole conversation about this. I think during the scene, like when she came in for that interview, how he basically sexually harassed her during that whole section.
Yeah, he comments on her outfit, like, but for the time that wasn't considered sexual harassment. Now it would consider.
Yeah, now harassment. It is. Then it wasn't, but it's still hilarious to me because it was like, wow, did he really just like straight out like the gate sexually harass her without even like a second thought?
Like, so do you always dress like this? I mean, I like it, but this is like a family environment.
And I can't remember. I think like his brother also lived with them still.
Yeah, at that time he did.
Yeah, so it was like mom and the brother and Veta and I mean not that mom as much. She's comatose pretty much. She's Alzheimer's and in her head. But yeah, so we get the mean girls, but the one girl that we see lagging behind, she actually, you notice she never actually picked on Veta. Hey, Denver Bear Hunter, that's all right. No worries about being late. She never actually picked on Veta. She did actually like Veta, and later we find out. Later she comes back into the picture. But it's much later in the movie that we see these. Well, we don't see all these girls again, but we see her again. She specifically comes back into the picture. Is the man? I'm trying to remember the next piece after this was the.
I think it was the teacher crush after that, or signing up for the
class. Well, she was trying to get the $35, which she eventually steals the $35 from Sally.
Yeah, she steals it from Shelley.
And Sally. Man, I can't get that girl's name right tonight at all. Good Lord.
Shelley sells Sally seashells by the seashore.
Yes. So she does eventually steal that money from her. She tries to find out now how to get $35. She gets told, go ask your dad.
And you get to see here how her dad is very much in his own world. He's withdrawn because he's still grieving the loss of his wife, Veta's mom.
12 years later.
Yeah, 12 years later, he hasn't really snapped out of it.
And to top it all off, though, he also, just doesn't... It's also the moment you see that he's also kind of disconnected from Veta. Because instead of encouraging her to pursue her passions or her pursuits, even though she's really just pursuing her teacher, he's like, last month you wanted this, and the month before it was that, and the month before that it was this, and I'm going to point out that for her age, that's actually pretty normal. She's at an age where, we do go through this kind of transitory period about things that we're interested in, and we want to check all the things out, and we want to do all the things. And in our society, the way it's rigged, the way it's set up, that's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
And $35 doesn't sound like a lot to us now, but $35 in 72 actually,
That's probably close to 100 now.
yeah, was actually like $35.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we were just going off the gold standard about this time.
Mm-hmm. I love this
Well,
one-liner.
no, we were still on the gold standard at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the start of the Nixon administration.
Yep.
So $32 back then was actually, or $35 back then was actually $35 fucking dollars.
Mm-hmm.
It had, it was our money back then was equated against the value of gold. So
Right.
She
has this good one-liner when she was bouncing from thing that she was interested in, when it's like, oh, well, he forgot that at one time I wanted to be a magician. And I was really good at making myself disappear.
Yes.
Which is really telling as to how she felt in that house.
Correct. And how she felt her dad saw her. Which was not at all.
Right.
She felt unseen by him. And part of why she has such a huge crush on her teacher, to be entirely honest, is because she feels seen by him.
Yeah, she feels nurtured, like her talents and her person. She's noticed.
Right.
And she's noticed for her talents and how she can, grow up in the world, which is something that her dad lacked at the time.
Yes. It was something that he was unable to provide.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it was kind of very telling. So after this, did we already? I don't think we saw the. Do we have both the doctor's office scenes, or do we only have the one?
I think we have two of them. We have the first one where she's with Thomas J, and then the second one where she says, I can't breathe, when she goes into the panic attack that we'll talk about later.
Right. But that one happens much later.
Mm-hmm.
All I see is the I'm hemorrhaging one. That's the one where she goes with Thomas J, right?
No, hemorrhaging is the period. She's my best friend is the Thomas J one.
Which one?
The one that says she's my best friend. It should be Thomas J and the still.
Well, I have the scene. Actually, let's do this scene because we were just talking about it.
Okay.
This is the.
The one we don't watch, because you always say.
This is the scene where she asks her dad for money, and she's made to feel pretty much unseen.
I never said that, Eve. The man ain't all red. What's the matter with this? There ain't nothing coming on.
Is that the Honeymooners?
Yes. Yes. No. It's that's All in the Family.
Okay.
Summer writing class.
Any more soda left?
Shelley thinks I'd be a good writer.
Last month you wanted to play the violin. Then you wanted to be a ventriloquist.
Dad?
I love this guy.
Dad?
What?
The money?
Well, maybe next summer.
He forgot about the time I wanted to be a magician. I was really great at making myself disappear.
How messed up is that, man? I forgot like how powerful that is to hear herself say that.
Man. The shade!
Right? I also have her crush scene, which we were talking about, which is the one with her and her teacher. I believe that is this one right here.
Didn't load it. What the hell?
Bill! I love you so, I always will. I look at you and see the passion eyes of May. Oh, but am I ever gonna see my wedding day?
man. So much the crushing on the teacher.
Right.
So much the crushing on the teacher. You know, I never crushed on any... Well, no, I take that back. I crushed on my 2nd grade teacher. Her name was Miss Coffee.
Miss Coffee?
Yeah. She was
That's
fantastic. In fact, even after I left my elementary school because I got expelled, listen, kids, if you're listening to this show, and you shouldn't be because it is a show for mature audiences, don't kick your principal in the nuts. You will get expelled.
What?
Have I never told you this story?
No!
Oh my god, I will tell you this story after tonight. I don't want to go on that tangent now. Just take it from me, kids. Don't kick your principal in the balls.
No, don't do that.
I had a few sort of crushes on teachers, Denver Bear Hunter. So even after I got expelled, I would go back to my elementary school and I would stand in her line. Me and my best friends, we would go back and we would do it, and it cracked her up. She thought it was hilarious. And she was always really happy to see us, which was great. She was just a fantastic teacher. I don't know what it was about her, but she was also like super hot. Okay, listen. 2nd grade, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade. My idea of super hot then and super hot now. Like, I've seen some of my pictures from back then, and I've seen her because she was my teacher when I was in 2nd grade, and I'm like, I'm not sure why I thought you were hot. Not that she was bad looking, but I'm just like, she had that, like, early 80s hair. And I'm just like, nah. But she was awesome. She was totally awesome.
So I'm uploading the doctor scene for you now.
Did it? Oh, let me refresh
It's
it.
gonna be in Discord.
Yeah, I got it. It just popped in. Where is the label on it though? I still don't see it.
It's in Discord.
Oh, you sent it to me there.
That's faster.
It is faster. Honestly. However, it is not faster in the sense that I have to, whoops.
Move
hey guys,
things.
see an 8. I have to download it and then move it around. It's okay. There we go. So this is the scene we were trying to get to initially before I got sidetracked. This is Veta feeling sick. This is the first time she goes to the doctor's office, and I realize I still have part of this window on my screen. Where did it go to? This one can go away. Maybe. Maybe not. It's just going to be that kind of a night for me. There we go. I moved, I moved, and, like, everything is still getting resituated from the move. This is the first time we see her go in, and we realize that Veta is also a bit of a hypochondriac. And they cover it really well when she goes into the doctor's office. I felt like they did a good job at calling it out without calling it out.
Right.
Without, like, trying to make her feel bad for...
Right, like it's all in her head or whatever.
Right.
This doctor is very patient and kind.
They don't make them like this anymore, kids.
Like that today.
They don't make them like this anymore. I'm just saying.
I mean, he's a sweet, down-home, probably makes house calls doctor.
Definitely probably makes house calls, and I'm thinking he's made more than one house call to Veta's house. But this is the scene where she goes to the doctor's office.
Once I sat on a toilet seat at a truck stop and caught hemorrhoids. And I've learned to live with this chicken bone that's been lodged in my throat for the past 3 years.
Chicken bone lodged in her
So I
throat
knew
for
Dad
3
was
years.
devastated when he learned of my latest affliction. Dad, I don't want to upset you, but my left breast is developing at a significantly faster rate than my right.
Oh, I forgot about that. Normal breast development.
Yep.
And she's freaking out about it.
Hand me the mayonnaise out of the fridge.
I also love Dad's response, though, where he literally is just like, hand me the mayonnaise. I'm not even going to qualify that. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say,
Just hand me the mayonnaise.
Oh, she's just pretending. Veta, get up here and eat your broccoli. It's supposed to be, a new
I think it's my
Wow.
prostate.
I think it's my prostate.
What's wrong today?
I'm very sick.
Okay, take a seat. I'll check if the doctor can see you. Okay, he'll see you. Why don't you go in?
Such a good dog. You know that nurse is like, yeah, you know, she's back. Yeah, she said she's very sick. Yeah.
What is it? I can have it.
Beta?
Perfectly healthy.
That can't be.
Oh, and she's snarky with the doctor, too. Are all those yours? Are you sure? Pointing to his degrees on the wall.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with you.
I'll just have to get a second opinion.
I love that line. I'll just have to get a second opinion.
But this illustrates and you find out if when you watch the show when she goes down to see how people died on the wall.
Right.
While her dad is embalming and preparing the bodies for the funeral, she sees that so and so died of like a chicken bone getting lodged in the throat, or prostate cancer was the most recent one, which was Harry's shop teacher.
Right. Right. In fact, she goes down there and tries to talk to him. He's like, I'm very busy. I'm trying to prepare so-and-so who was my shop teacher.
And she's trying to connect in bed. She even does like the singing, which his assistant sings back.
Yeah. Isn't she singing American Girl? Or American... no. I thought she was singing a ZZ Top song.
Just walking down the street singing do a diddy diddy dum diddy do.
Yes. And he starts singing back, though. His assistant does sing back, which I thought was brilliant. Because he's paying attention. He's like, yes.
She wants to connect. She's reaching out.
Right. And so he goes back with her. But her dad is very much like, Veta, I'm busy. I'm trying to do something. Please stop bothering me. You're not supposed to be down here.
Yeah, he's just lost in his whole, like, straight man, strict routine. And she originally comes down there bidding, saying, I beat Thomas J in Monopoly.
Yes.
Which, I hate Monopoly. But, you know, it was a good game back then, apparently.
You know what? I like Monopoly, but it does kind of turn me into a bitch. It is such a cutthroat game when you play it with friends.
It is.
It
and
ruins friendships.
Flipping the board saying, fuck you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah, it ruins friendships.
You know what else ruins friendship? Catan.
Settlers of Catan?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. We play with prison rules.
Because of all the backstabbing that happens?
The backstabbing, the more like fucking over, like, oh, you want to build your road there? Not anymore. You wanted this port? No.
That's the big thing about, like, board games like that. You get so much, like... You find out, really, how backstabby people are. Like, because when they want to get rid of you, they're like, mutual partnership? You gonna help me out? Yeah, okay. And they do it all, too. It's all done with body language. Nobody says anything explicitly.
Oh, no, we do. Our group will explicitly be like, we're going to fuck over you, so do you want to make an alliance with me?
That's fucked up, man. That's the fact that you say it out loud, that's even worse, because then you're just like, oh, now you're being an asshole just to be an asshole.
Dude, it's one of the rules on our, like, family rules game board. It's prison rules, bitch. Sorry, that's... When it comes to board games and card games, it's prison rules. I'm sorry, it just... The shanks come out.
Green Mile. That's another one we should do.
Oh, God. Green Mile.
Since we're talking about prisons and shanking, why Green Mile suddenly came to my mind when nothing like that happens in Green Mile. That's more like Schindler's List. But it did come to... Yeah, that's
A lot
another.
of stuff happens in Green Mile, though. If we're gonna talk about like trauma from the prison system.
Oh yeah, seriously. Well, and just how unjust it is, but also how affected the guards are too, especially when they know injustice is being done. But
Right.
that's for another time, boys and girls.
That's another story.
That's another story. And now I have the theme song from the Neverending Story stuck in my head.
You're welcome. But we have the one where she says, "I'm hemorrhaging. Like I need to see Dad right now," and this is part of that coming of age piece where she needs a mother or needs a woman, a kind of a mother figure to explain what's happening. Because I know they did not have that type of sex education in the schools at that
1972.
time.
Yeah, definitely
And
not.
her dad wasn't going to teach her that.
Right, and shit, let's be honest. We barely have that kind of sex education in the school system now.
Right? I could get on a whole rant about types of sex education that we need to have to get people ready for relationships and just sex. Period.
I mean, it should start the minute they enter school.
Right.
But no parent wants to hear that.
Nope.
Seriously?
Nope.
Best question my 5-year-old ever asked me. What's that bottle for? She points at this giant bottle of lube. And me having to explain what exactly that's for to my 5-year-old. And her going, why? Well, so the hemorrhaging scene, back on topic. The hemorrhaging scene is great. Let's
dry sponge scene?
The dry sponge scene from the Green Mile. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't wet the sponge. Well, I didn't know it had to be wet. Bullshit. You did too, you little weasel motherfucker.
Oh man, that guy was such a pain. But he's the same guy that fucking stomped on the fucking mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I forgot that mouse's name. That shit broke my heart.
Jangle?
Mr. Jingle, that shit. Oh my god, that shit broke my fucking heart when he stomped on that mouse. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, seriously? And then you got Big John who's like,
John Coffee, like the drink, only not spelt the same.
Go John, man.
Let me digress.
That was a loss. That was a loss to Hollywood.
Yes.
That was a loss. That man was amazing.
He's a great actor.
He really was. He really was. All right, let's check out the hemorrhaging scene. We're getting sidetracked.
Oh my god! Daddy! Daddy!
Yep. And it kind of acts. It's like that. If you're not prepared.
What's the matter?
Where's Daddy?
Well, he just left. What's wrong?
I'm hemorrhaging.
What do you mean you're hemorrhaging?
I don't need your help, but I need
Veta,
your...
did this happen in the bathroom? How old are you?
I'm 11 and a half.
It's okay. Come on upstairs. We have to have a little talk.
Just want to point out, it doesn't always happen in the bathroom.
Daddy did that.
Correct.
Actually, a very beautiful thing. And look, there wouldn't have been a Veta.
I think it should be outlawed.
Yep, I can see that face.
someday
Like,
you'll
why?
feel different.
Why are we talking about this right now?
Well, that's probably Thomas J. I don't want to see him. It's not fair.
Is this the whole comeback part? Do you have the whole
Voice.
scene?
I think so.
Hi, Veta.
Oh yeah,
Come
yeah,
out?
yeah.
I don't know. Please, it's real hot. Maybe we can go swimming. No. Get out of here. And don't come back for 5 to 7 days.
Oh my god, I love it. And he just sits there like, what the fuck just happened? Poor Thomas J.
Poor so sheltered Thomas J.
Like, I love how she just goes like, it's so true though. How she just goes from like, she's standing in the door with just her head out and she's like, no. And then he's like, but we could go swimming. And she comes out and she's just like, I said no!
And don't come back for 5 to 7 days. Oh gosh. I think this was before tampons too. I think they just had pads at that time.
I mean, it's for the better.
They had the banana boots. Those are not comfortable.
Hi.
I would rather have moon pads or the underwear
I mean,
or the cups.
anything is better than using a tampon, in my opinion.
Yes. And we can go on rants as to why you should not use tampons, but
yeah,
that's
but then we're gonna get into like toxic shock syndrome and all of that bullshit, and yeah, already
all the
into
chemicals. Yeah.
yeah, there's that's a conversation for another time on a different show.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a whole series.
We could do a whole series.
God. But anyways, hi. Say hello to everybody. Say hi.
I'm not a cat.
Yes. Now that I made you be on camera. Haha, she left because I made her be on camera.
Sushi's sitting under the desk like, why are you not in the couch where I can lay on you?
Right. Right. This one still refuses to go downstairs.
Oh.
That's where her food is. So I hope she's going down and eating overnight. But like sometimes I come downstairs and it's like I caught her downstairs and she feels like she's doing something wrong and she books it right back upstairs. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, your food is down here. I keep bringing you down here and showing you. You're allowed down here. But I think it's too loud downstairs for her. Still. My rugs just came in the other day, like, for downstairs, because of the tile, so all the sound just bounces around. But it just cracks me up. Anyways. So that's her and her hemorrhaging scene and, like, totally, like, laying Thomas J out. And then after this, huh?
I'm not going like I don't understand what.
No, definitely not. And then after this, we are kind of skipping some things that I think just aren't really that important to cover. The poem scene, is that the very last scene? Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's the very end. Like the ode to ice cream is when she first gets into the class.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip that one. She does get into her poetry class so she can be with her teacher. She does this cute little rhymey poem, and her teacher explains to her at that point in time that, that's not really her. It's not really what he's looking for. He wants her to express her actual feelings. And that part I think is important. While I'm not going to show the clip, I do want to point out that part is really, really important. Because he's asking her to express her feelings, and that is something that we'll see a little bit later.
And she doesn't, and up until then, she doesn't really know how to do it, to be honest.
She doesn't. She doesn't understand that.
She doesn't, as a kid, and probably as having a parent who is shut down due to grief, she hasn't known how to self-regulate.
Right.
Which gets into, like, the panic attack that you're going to see later on, and things like that.
So, I think so next I think is the date that Harry and Shelley go on.
Yeah, this, I have the bumper cars. I don't have the bingo one.
It's okay. So Harry and Shelley go on their first date, which is to bingo. And Veta and Thomas J follow them.
And then sabotage.
She's very perturbed at the idea that they're out on this bingo date together. And then they go on another date, sort of date, where everybody goes to the carnival. And at the carnival, they get on bumper cars, and we see just how vindictive 11-year-old Veta is.
Because she doesn't want her dad to date. She's protective of her dad.
She is, and this is great. I love this scene, though, because this is the way you never piss off a kid and then get into a thing where they're allowed to attack you, and it's okay for them to do so. Because
she's expressing her anger very,
yes, because this is what happens when you do that. Like, without question, this is what happens.
This is what happens when you don't talk to your kids about dating.
Right?
When you're a single parent and you start dating again and you're dating seriously, you need to loop the kid in.
Right, absolutely. You do need to loop the kid in, because if you don't loop the kid in, they don't understand what's going on.
And then this is going to happen. And of course, Shelley doesn't know what to say because.
Right.
Harry?
Veta, we have some good news. Shelley and I are getting married.
Poor fish.
Such an
We're
actual
having a
reaction
wedding
to
sometime
have,
near the end of
though.
the summer.
Like,
Right?
You'll be okay, little fish.
but I feel for that fish, man. That impact on the ground. Not even if it, like, just the sound vibrating through the water would have been terrible for that thing.
It's fine. Fish are very resilient animals, you know.
That poor
Don't worry,
fish.
I will get another fish.
The bumper car! The bumper
And I love how she just ignores the rest of the whole "we're getting married." She just focuses on the fish.
We have a ride that's guaranteed.
I don't need another fish.
Right?
This one's perfectly fine. Basically saying, I don't need a mom. I'm perfectly
Exactly. She needs a mom, and she knows she needs a mom, but she just...
I'd fall asleep at the wheel.
Let me point out that she was all about Shelley until her dad started dating Shelley.
Yes, that is true.
Two. I got the blue one!
No!
Yes! I can come get you.
And everybody looks so happy.
Yeah.
Except for Veta.
Yeah, except for Veta. That thumbs up scene.
Right? And then look, she doesn't try to fucking hit anybody else. She just hunts her down.
Just like a, chumming the water. Bam! And what's interesting, if you look at the colors of the cars, they are complementary colors, which means they're opposite each other on the color wheel. So it just amplifies this.
Careful, Veta, careful! Shelley, look out!
And now Shelley's kind of getting it that she's being targeted.
Yes.
Oh, look, they're trying to hit that poor thing.
Watch you don't knock it.
Oh, so cruel. Kids, man. Kids can be vicious.
Wow.
Vicious, vicious, vicious.
So vicious. This comes for children not understanding relationships and what happens. And to be fair to Veta, this was really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's only been a couple months.
Yeah.
And to the dad's pattern, he did say that he'd only been dating Veta's mom for a couple months before they got engaged and got married.
Right.
So he's used to having these whirlwind courtships where nowadays it's like, let's not get engaged for like a year or more. And even then we move in with each other before that.
Well, and we still see whirlwind courtships like this.
Yeah, well, we're swept up in NRE.
Yeah, it still happens. But yeah, for sure. Like now, engagements typically are, and we have typically they're like after a year, but we still have this thing of like, oh wait, you got engaged after a year? That's awful fast, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, our grandparents were probably not dating for a year before they got engaged.
Right.
And their parents most definitely were not dating that long before they got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole, like, long courtship ritual thing that we kind of fall into nowadays is actually pretty new. It wasn't the typical for the longest time. In fact, even in the U.S., prearranged marriages were still a thing into the 1950s.
Yeah, I was about to say, marrying for love is a new concept.
Oh, marrying for love is absolutely absurd. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
That whole concept is I like the idea of that concept, but that's not what marriage is. Marriage is a
Marriage was a legal arrangement.
It's a legal contractual arrangement about combining wealth to increase overall wealth.
Yes.
It doesn't marriage itself doesn't have dick all to do with love. That's why in the back in the day, you want to go back in time, people were fucking every other person other than the person they were married to, and nobody gave a shit. You just didn't talk about it publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody got married for love. You fucked the person you married to create heirs to keep your wealth where you wanted your wealth.
Yep.
And you went and did whoever else you wanted to do for shits and giggles and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage didn't have nothing to do with love. Marriage was a contractual arrangement.
This is true.
This concept of marrying for love, that's all within the last 60 years. If that. Like, even in the 50s, you still didn't get married for love. Marriage was a contractual arrangement.
Logistical reasons, yeah. Things that made sense, and now things don't make that much sense anymore to have arranged marriages, or
and it's also why if you look at when the whole marrying for love concept started, you will see this increase with the divorce rate also going up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's no longer a contractual arrangement. You aren't entering into the agreement contractually anymore, which is we're doing this for our mutual benefit.
Marrying for love, I think, started like in the late 1800s, but it was still common to have a contractual marriage up until like the 1950s, like you were saying.
Yeah. So it's a weird concept. I don't disagree with the concept. It's just people don't think about the fact that marriage didn't start off this way.
Mm-hmm.
Even Hollywood overglorifies the concept of marrying for love.
Correct.
It goes back in time and it tries to make out all these marriages that happened as being these lovey-dovey affairs, and they weren't. They were all arrangements. One of my favorites, The Count of Monte Cristo, shows it really well.
Right.
That marriage was an arrangement, and love wasn't always involved.
Mm-hmm.
And who else? Was it on Doctor Who that one of the queens says, you don't get married for love. Mm-hmm. You get married for money. Love is for the birds.
I think it was like the Pompadour's wife or something, or I remember the fireplace scene. It was a David Tennant one where Madame Pompadour, where he would go back and forth and.
Oh well, yeah. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, there's all these little things out there, but Hollywood does tend to overglorify the whole marrying for love thing too. But beside the point. So here, her dad is remarrying. She doesn't like it. She takes out her displeasure via the bumper cars, and that relationship sort of repairs itself as time goes.
Mm-hmm.
But then after this, should be. We
have the
jaunt out into the forest, right?
Yep.
Do I have that one?
I think you do.
That's the first kiss scene, yes.
They might have cut that.
I'm double checking. Sorry, my clips aren't labeled. My bad. I didn't take care of that.
I thought I downloaded that, but apparently they did not have that.
Yeah, so the next thing we have really is the first kiss scene, which this happens at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this scene. They go out into the forest, and they hang around, and
people want to get married.
They sort of just talk about what's going on with
I'm
him.
going to marry Mr. Bixler. You can't marry a teacher. It's against the law. It is not.
And they don't even understand why people get married.
Right.
It won't be fair. Not true.
Which Thomas J's right. You can't marry your teacher, but not for that reason.
What they do on TV?
I mean, either way, Thomas J's talking about abuse of power.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should. Just to see what's the big deal. But I don't know how. Here, practice on your arm like this. Like this? Mm-hmm. Okay, enough practice.
Enough practice.
Then I won't be able to
Enough
see
practice. Let's do it now.
Okay.
Well, we know who the top is in that relationship.
Oh yeah, totally. She totally wears those pants.
Just do it.
2, 2.5, 3.
I love the shocked look on his face.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how many takes they had to do for that shock to happen.
Just 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just say something. Fine, we're gonna do the
pledge.
of allegiance. We're gonna fill this awkward silence with the pledge to our country.
Because why not, right? So what we didn't see though in this scene, unfortunately, do I have I think I have a still of it. There's a couple of things that we didn't see. One is this still here, and that is Thomas J climbing the tree. This is the part where he tells Veta that he wants to be an acrobat.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important. This is important. It doesn't seem important at the time when you first see it, but it actually kind of ends up being an important scene. And I thought I had the other one. Where is it at?
Which one?
The bees.
I swore I put more in here than this.
Well, I thought I saw it, and I was like, I have to remember that this one is there. And that was the tree one, and I guess I don't have it. Anyways, so what I'm going to talk about here is that this is the moment where we really get the clue in about what's going to happen, what's coming. So they're out here. This scene with him hanging from the tree happens after this bit that I'm going to talk about. But when they first go out to the woods, they find a beehive. And, of course, kids being kids, they throw rocks at it. And they knock it down. And at first, nothing happens. But then the bees start to swarm and they get angry and they run and they jump in this lake that we saw at the beginning of this last scene where they had their first kiss. And I'm glad I'm on a media screen right now because we just lost Nicki. Welcome back. And welcome back. So they run from the bees, they jump in the lake where we saw them having their first kiss scene. And this is where Thomas J hangs from the tree and says, I want to be an acrobat. And then they sit down and they have their kiss. But what happens here is really important. Veta's throwing the rock and she loses her mood ring. And they don't go back for it. And this is the important factor because we've learned a lot of things about Thomas J at this point. We've learned that Thomas J is allergic to fucking everything.
Right? Everything.
He should have been in a goddamn bubble.
The boy in the bubble.
Yes. And so this happens, and you immediately, when the bees first fall and swarm, your first thought in your head when you're watching this movie is literally, get the hell out of there, Thomas. You're allergic to everything. And so they run. They have their kiss. They leave. Veta's like, I lost my mood ring. And Thomas J, unknowingly being in love with her, will later go back looking for her ring. And I don't actually think we have... we have the... Is it the I Feel Sick scene? No, that happens after...
Yeah, the I Can't Breathe scene is the Thomas J death notification scene.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump now to the next part here, which this is where the trauma happens in this movie. I'm gonna be honest. So just the forewarning about what's coming down the pipe on this clip, is this piece. Thomas goes back looking for the mood ring because it's Thomas, and this is what he does.
He loves Veta, so he wants to get his friend's ring.
Right. He wants to do right by her and bring her back what she lost.
And he thought the beehive was
Empty.
as he kicks it. And of course, he didn't carry his EpiPen or have that with him.
Right? And I love how the glasses falling is like the big clue in.
Mm-hmm. And the bees swarming around his glasses.
Right. And so this should be the officer. Yeah.
Yep. And the notification that no parent ever wants to get.
And you know that this came to him probably before it came to... Well, it might have gone to her parents first, and then he might have come here.
Mm-hmm.
But even Harry doesn't know how to take this because, you know, this is Veta's best friend.
That's almost like a son to him in a way,
Right.
in his absentee parent way.
And this is the most parenting we see Harry do the whole movie.
Feed my fish?
Until the end.
Yes.
The fish you want at the carnival?
Yes.
He's getting big.
She's way overfeeding that fish. That bothers me.
Veta, come here and sit down for a minute.
She's nervous. Dad doesn't just come around.
Veta.
Why is Dad in my room? Why is he sitting on my bed?
He stepped on a beehive.
I told him not to tease those bees. Did he get stung? Maybe I should go over and yell at him.
No, sweetheart. You can't.
Why not?
Ah, I'm tearing up already!
Yep.
He's okay, isn't he?
There were just too many of them.
Dan Aykroyd's performance here is amazing, by the way. I just want to point that out. Alright, now we're at the doctor's office. Right?
He's having all the symptoms of a panic attack, which for some... I don't know why they didn't continue this scene out. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's okay. We have a next thing. So, I'm going to take a moment here, and we're going to pull back for a second, so that I don't actually tear up, because I'm going to tear up when we get to the actual, like, funerary scene, because that's the worst part. So, this was hard enough, like, hearing that he died. We all knew he died. There's no... The movie didn't even give you any illusions that anything else happened. That's why they do the glasses drop, and you can hear Thomas being like, no, 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 stop, get away, get away. And then they cut. And as soon as they cut, like, all you see is a finger ringing the doorbell. That, I don't give a shit what movie you've watched. I don't give a shit how many movies you've seen or not seen. That is the scene that tells you everything you need to know. That is the scene that tells you that the shit hit the fan. Because all you see is a finger ringing a doorbell.
Yeah, we have the death notification, and then as a kid, imagine... The closest that I can come to having this type of, like, my best friend was hurt. I mean, I know I had my grandmother die and stuff like that. I know what that felt like. But I had a friend that, like, fell from a high ropes course and then getting the notification that she was seriously injured. I remember going to the counselor's office and that whole 9 yards, and that was hard to kind of understand what had happened at that point. But to get a notification that a best friend had died.
Right? I can't even, like, my brain just doesn't fathom the depth at which, like, that.
And because she hasn't learned how to self-regulate, like, anxiety, because you see these bursts of anger while she's trying to figure out how to deal with her own menstrual cycle, and people
her
picking
dad
on
getting
her,
married and people picking
that her
on
dad
her.
getting married. And because she doesn't understand how to deal with this type of grief, of course she's gonna have a panic attack.
Right, and that leads us right into that scene.
I was born jaundiced. Once I sat on a toilet seat at a truck
Wait,
stop.
nope, that's not that one. That's the other one where she starts talking about going to the doctor's office. Why do I have that one twice?
I don't know. Because I did a real good job today of getting you stuff.
Here it is. But I gotta skip ahead because the scene continues out, but it's from a different clip. Maybe it's from a different clip? Yeah, here it is. This is it right here.
Dr. Welty? Dr. Welty?
Veta, what's wrong, sweetheart?
I can't breathe. I'm suffocating.
Oh, wait, relax now. Let me look. It's okay. Here, come on. Up here, we'll have a look. That's the girl.
Again, best doctor ever.
It hurts so bad.
Right.
Make
And I
it
think
stop.
he does. He tries
What
to
hurts
talk
then?
her out of having a
The
panic
bee
attack.
stings. I can't breathe.
I forgot we cut to them wheeling Thomas J in after that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that had to be, I don't care who you are. No parent ever wants, doesn't matter what your job is, no parent ever wants to have to work on a kid.
Right.
Even if you're not a parent, no adult wants to have to work on a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the epitome of horror for everybody.
Hi, douche.
He is like, no, I don't want to be on camera either.
No, I'm gonna show you my ass and my balls.
Yeah, pretty much. No parent ever wants to work on a kid. So they bring him in. She has this panic attack. The doctor does a very good job actually at calming her down. And getting her the hardest things to do when having a panic attack is regulating your breathing. That's the part where people tend to get stuck. I know it happens to me when I have panic attacks. I have to constantly remind myself to slow down my breathing because otherwise I will hyperventilate myself into a pass out.
So the best way is like being, working with trauma and self-regulation. The square breathing helps. Calm app. Actually, breathing in a paper bag does help because it's supposed to have that in and out.
Right.
So it has visual. So where you're going slow, because when you regulate your breathing, you're regulating your nervous system.
Correct.
That's why it works.
That's why breathing is so important to everything. Even in meditation, one of the biggest things you learn when you start to learn how to meditate is that you have to control your breathing. Controlling your breathing helps you regulate your nervous system, which helps you then meditate. When you have a panic attack, breathing is your tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the hardest thing for most people to do is regulate their breathing. Because the one thing that a panic attack does to you is it tightens up your chest and it really makes it hard for you to breathe. And you hyperventilate because you feel like you can't get enough air. Even though you can, because you're panicking and your chest tightens up, you feel like you're not getting enough air. And so that's what's happening to Veta. And that's why she's like, it hurts, I can't breathe. And all she can think about and what's causing her to continue down that panic stage is the bee stings. She's thinking about the bee stinging Thomas and how he was honestly, she's thinking about how he was all alone and how much it must have hurt. And that's making it worse for her because also, when you panic, you're fixated on a specific thing. And because you're not letting go, your body just tenses up. And that's where your tightening comes in. And then because you're hyperventilating, you become arrhythmic in your heart. And that's why your heart starts to hurt because everything is you've completely fucked up your whole system.
Yep, you're engaging your lizard brain.
Yes,
which
literally.
Everything is a dinosaur trying to eat your face.
Yes, exactly. that is a really accurate description. That's what happens. And I'm also talking about this at length because I don't really want to play the next scene, which I gotta play no matter what.
So are we engaging in avoidance behavior?
We are engaging in avoidance behavior. This is what is happening right here. I can do that, damn it. I control this.
I mean,
This movie, man, I tell you what, it just punches you in the feels everywhere. So, this next scene, just for everybody out there on the viewership train, this next scene is really hard. So just have that heads up. I don't usually, I'm gonna notice, I've given trauma warnings twice this movie. I never give trauma warnings.
Mm-hmm.
I've given them twice this movie because this movie just fucking kicks you in the feels, man. And it doesn't think twice about it. It just lets you have it.
So did Don Bluth write this?
Huh? I know, right? I will say while we were watching this, we were like, we can't have our fuck you Don Bluth moment. Because
he didn't write it.
Because he didn't write it. It's not his movie. So yeah, here's this next scene.
Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them. The kingdom of God belongs to such as these." And he laid his hands on their heads before he left that place. Let us pray in silence.
I want to go tree climbing, Thomas J. His face hurts. And where is his glasses? He can't see without his glasses. Put his glasses on. Put on his glasses. He was going to be an acrobat.
He's gone, sweetheart. He's gone.
Veta, wait! Veta!
So I think up until this moment, she had been avoiding Thomas J.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like, oh, it's real.
This is the reality moment.
And that's the importance of funerals, is closure. The funerals are for the family. It's not for the person who died.
Right.
About Thomas J.
Okay,
we don't have to talk about him.
We don't.
Oh, and this is a double whammy for her.
Yes, she gets double whammy here.
Justin didn't run to say that I should tell
And if you see
people
that do-wah diddy dum diddy do that she does, that's how she is distracting from things that traumatize her and upset her.
Correct.
We didn't get to see that panic attack in the parlor before.
Veta.
I love
with
you
the
like
dead
my
body.
dad loves
Right.
Shelley. I want to live here.
I think your dad would miss you.
No, he wouldn't. I can't go home.
Hank, I'll be ready in a second. I just can't seem to find my other earring.
Suzanne, this is Veta.
Veta. Hi. I'm really sorry.
Could you just give us a minute?
He's like, shit, I'm about to break her heart now.
He's like, great.
She and I are going to be married this fall.
It's one of those where you're like,
No.
thanks, honey.
I was going to bring her to
Right?
class next week. I want her to hear your poems. Oh, Veta. Please, honey. I cared for him, too.
She's like,
Veta,
no,
please.
no.
Veta.
So she lost Thomas J. and her
And
first
she
crush.
lost her crush all in one. Like, such a terrible thing to have happen all in one day. Like, but it's almost better that she went there because they were on their way to the funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost better that she went there and had it happen there versus at the funeral home where she was already feeling trapped.
All the feels. Yeah, where she's feeling the walls closing in, had to get out of there.
Correct. So, and yeah.
And her response is pretty spot on for people who avoid.
Yes.
Because you have the ones who will, like, turn towards and fight is their thing for anger.
Yes.
Hers is avoiding and running away.
Mm-hmm.
So her running away from the funeral home is pretty spot, and running away from the teacher.
Right. So, well, she ran from one place to get away, to escape to another place where she would feel safe, and then she didn't feel safe there, so she runs away again. And that's a very avoidant behavior. Huh?
I think she goes to the tree, right? She goes back to the weeping willow in the dock.
Yeah. She goes back to the weeping willow on the dock. And so we just see like this continuous avoidant behavior from her. We've seen it all throughout the movie. at different places. Well, we did mention while that clip was playing that the one thing that we didn't get to see was when she got trapped down in the parlor where they work on the bodies.
Yeah, she was bouncing the basketball, and it goes down the stairs, and it's a self-locking basement door. So she gets locked in, and then she knows that there's a body there, and she starts hyperventilating at the top of the stairs, doing the do I diddy diddy dun, because that's how she's avoiding and escaping what's happening. Whole sensory shutdown, which is another thing with self-soothing.
Which somebody taught her that technique, by the way. It's not something she just started doing. Somebody taught her to do that. And my guess is it was probably her dad.
Probably, or her grandmother, because her grandmother.
Yes. So her grandmother, by the way, when she first moved in with them, she moved in after Veta's mom died to help. And so Veta's always grown up with her grandmother. So with her grandmother now being kind of trapped in her own mind, we can see we see different instances throughout the movie where it's very hard on Veta. And Grandma also, like, she has actually some of the best scenes. That lady, man, she did such a fan-fucking-tastic job. Her scenes, and I'm sorry we don't have any clips of it, and this is me avoiding getting to the next hard part of this movie. She, like, I don't even know, like, she had the best scenes, because she would just be sitting at the dinner table, and then burst out in song.
That was when she was like, it's the prostate cancer, I think it's my prostate. And she's like, Harry's wild about me, or whatever.
It was the best shit ever. Also, we missed the scene in another scene where it was a funeral that was happening prior to the whole Thomas J thing, and Grandma, Veta left her grandma. She was supposed to be watching her. She left to do something.
She was this was after she'd gotten her period. So I think she wasn't feeling so good and just feeling ambivalent because her dad told her to do this, and she saw Shelley and Harry flirting.
Right.
And was just over it and was going to the bathroom.
Right. And then Grandma walks into the funeral parlor and, like, and the service is going on, and she walks up in front of everything and just starts singing again. Her scenes were the best. I wish we had some clips of them, because they were hilarious, the way she did it.
The dinner scene's in there.
Huh?
The dinner scene is in there.
Is it?
Yeah, I actually got that one.
I saw the one, because I played it, where she had prostate cancer.
The My Girl dinner scene is up there.
I see the Did I Kill My Mother scene.
Yep, that one's up there.
Hemorrhaging Ode to Ice Cream.
It should be before... Did I not send you these? I have these. Why did they not up?
Otherwise, I would have played that, because I thought that was great. And I'm a little worried now, because do I have... The poem scene you sent me, is that the after?
Yeah, that's the after one.
Okay, yeah, it is, because that one I have numbered. Oh, there's the dinner scene. I'm gonna play this just for a moment of, like, humor.
Since we're talking about... it's been the old people, like the elderly actors for the past 2 movies with Grandpa from Lost Boys. And
Right? Right? This is the scene that I skipped over because I didn't see it. I apologize. But it's the best, since we're talking about Grandma, this is her scene where she does this. Like, the one of the two that she does this on. And it's just fucking great.
And Shelley's like, what the hell's going on? This is just like a typical dinner for them.
I might have to do a V-section.
I got music.
I guess so.
I got
Now this isn't
my
going to be
man
a
who
repeat
could
of
ask
that
for
smelter
any
accident a
more.
few years ago.
I love how they just keep having a conversation, ignoring her, and she just goes on singing.
This reminds me of when I worked on Cottage B at Ridgeview in Atlanta. And that was the geriatric wing. And we actually had elderly individuals that were suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. They would do this. They would just bust out into song, and you have 3 or 4 people that are either busting out dancing or singing or something, and you're like, all right.
They do the weirdest things, but it was hilarious, and I loved this scene with Grandma. So now I'm gonna play the next hard clip, since I'm done being avoidant because Grandma makes me laugh. So this is trauma warning number 3 that I'm gonna hand out, because this is actually a really powerful scene. But remember, we talked about Veta when she first joined this class, and she does this nice rhymey little poem, and her teacher is like, hey, that's not really what I'm looking for. I really want you to express your feelings. Tell me, your poem should tell me what you're feeling. It should have your feeling kind of embedded inside of the poem. And he doesn't tell it to her in those exact words, but that's really the meaning he's getting across, is that he wants to feel what she's feeling based on her poem.
And this is a great use of narrative therapy.
Yes.
For those who, when, like, if writing can help or journaling can help, this is how it helps, where Veta's finding closure.
Yes.
In Thomas J's death and coming to terms with it through poetry.
I want to point out that while yes, it is her finding closure, this is also where she learns to express her feelings. Because Veta's not very good at expressing her feelings. She very much is, to be gendered about it, she's very much the tamp your feelings down man and put a bottle cap on it and ignore it. She doesn't really talk about what she's feeling. She expresses her feelings mostly through anger and lashing out. She doesn't really express her feelings through emotion or other ways like language. And now, in this scene, she expresses herself via language. And it's a beautiful scene. It's just heart-wrenching at the same time.
What exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, be dangerous.
Be a thunderstorm.
And unpredictable. And make a lot of noise. Veta.
Hey! We missed you, man. Give me
I love how the whole class is happy to see her.
Yeah, she formed a bond with, this was almost like a surrogate family.
Right?
Where she has a lot of big brothers and sisters. And her surrogate father figure. / weird crush.
Right.
Weeping willow, with your tears running down, why do you always weep and frown? Is it because he left you one day? Is it because he could not stay? On your branches he would swing. Do you long for the happiness that day would bring? He found shelter in your shade. He thought his laughter would never fade. Weeping willow, stop your tears. There is something to calm your fears. You think death has ripped you forever apart, and I know he'll always be in your heart.
Oof.
Oh, she was about to tear up there.
She was. I mean, I'm tearing up. What are you talking about?
And what you didn't see at the end of that scene is when she walked out, they start queuing up the whole My Girl soundtrack, but she meets Judy again.
Right.
Who is now her new friend, who came to see her when she was mourning.
I was going to say, we didn't get that scene where she came to see her while she was mourning, and she's like, well, just tell her I came by and that I hope she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so that was the part where this girl who was traveling with these mean girls comes back and, like, shows that she really, not just was she, lingering behind, she actually wanted to be Veta's friend. And she made it a point to come back and check on Veta when she knew she was hurting.
Right. And I think that's wonderful. One thing that I thought about while Veta was reading this, so often when we work with trauma, when we talk about trauma it gets stuck in the right hemisphere of the brain, where it's all about symbols and pictures, and there's not a language for it until our two halves of our brain start to communicate and form this language. And that's how art therapy and the non-talk therapies actually work. They get the two hemispheres talking, and this is how she was able to link that. The poetry was her bridge to be able to process this trauma, so it didn't become post-traumatic stress.
Right, absolutely. And it's such an important factor for her because she already has a lot of stress from the house that she lives in. And there's a lot of trauma in that house, no matter how you cut it. Not because anybody necessarily was traumatizing to her, but that house has people who are traumatized come through it all the time, who've either been in a traumatic accident and died, or are going through the trauma of having lost someone. Her house is filled with trauma. And
which also might be why her dad shuts down an awful lot. Because if you think about regulatory nervous systems, he's having to be the main nervous system that's regulating all of these families that come in.
Right.
So he has this deadpan.
But it's also why she does the same thing. Because she's modeling behavior, because that's what kids do. And she also lives in this same house. And she also has to regulate for these families.
Mm-hmm. Which is parentifying in a way, because that's not a kid's job.
Right, exactly. I totally agree with you on that one. That's not a kid's job to have to regulate. But she doesn't have a choice because of just the way things are. And what is Dad going to say? You can't come out of your room for the hour and a half that people are here mourning?
Right. I mean, in a way, he's trying to have her not be a kid when he's around. Like, we're trying to work. Don't do that. You're overreacting. Why weren't you here watching your grandmother? It's your responsibility.
Right.
This, that, and the next thing.
Right.
And then Shelley comes in and is like, she's a kid, Harry.
Exactly. Yes.
Let her be a kid.
Exactly. Shelley does open up that door for Veta. So this movie, so we were talking about it before, and one of the many things about this movie is, and I just realized I don't think that I have the scale, so but one of the things that we talked about with this movie is, where did this movie rank in terms of how we saw it?
Are you trying to get it in the red when you stop it?
Nah! I am not, actually. I was trying to not have it do the title image there. That's not what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to be a different image entirely, which is that! Because this movie was a freaking 8 on the trauma scale, no matter how we cut it.
Yeah. When you got both of us crying at a movie we've probably seen multiple times, yeah.
Right? You know that it is a strong. Why does this not... Man, this really got...
I don't know what you're trying to do.
I'm just fixing stuff on my side at the end. But this movie definitely qualified as an 8 for us. We both agreed wholeheartedly that there's no way around it. This movie, I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times now, and it elicits the same reaction out of me every time I've watched it. This movie makes me cry all the time. Doesn't matter how many times I see this movie, I can't not cry. I think about this movie and I want to cry. This movie was jacked because it doesn't start off like a trauma movie. It starts off kind of honestly like a rom-com.
Yeah, it sounds like it feels almost like what a Norman Rockwell painting would feel like in the beginning. It's a feel-good family movie.
Yeah.
And it starts off like the rom-com and the summer romance with the kids, and you have the quirky bit of living in a funeral home, but then we just slam death. Like, it just beats you in the face. Here you go.
We don't even get a gentle... It's not even a gentle, like, transition into that death. It's just like, fuck you, he's dead.
Yep, for the remaining 25 minutes of this movie, you're just gonna cry.
Yeah, I mean, the minute Thomas J goes back to that forest by himself, that's it. The movie is essentially over at that point. Mm-hmm. Because the only thing that happens is Thomas J dies, and then everything else is you learning how to process grief. 25 minutes left in a movie. Because this movie, honestly, there is no movie... We've covered a lot of movies at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this now since... Well, this is episode what? 9? 10?
Yeah.
Or 7?
This is episode 9... An episode 8 or 9.
We started... Did we start in February or January?
We started in February.
Okay, so this is like episode 8 then. Yeah. So... 8 episodes in, and the first movie we did was The Never-Ending Story, which also thrusts grief on you, but nowhere like this movie. This movie literally is like, fuck you, have a big bag of grief dicks.
What? The difference between Never-Ending Story and this, and a lot of the movies that you have pointed out, is it paints this huge rainbow picture on the end, so you're left with the happy ending. My Girl tried to do that, but was not successful.
My Girl does try to give you this happy ending kind of thing, right? Where she comes out of it at the end, and you hear the My Girl song. But it doesn't. My Girl literally, that last... All of the trauma in this movie is crammed into the last 25 minutes, and it's a big bag of trauma dicks. I'm sorry, it's what it is. And they don't bring you out of it.
I think we need to get a bag with the squishy dicks and write trauma on all of them, so we can just throw them at the screen.
Yes, I would love to do that. That would be fantastic. Because that's just it. This movie, all the other movies, and Nikki points it out. I talk about this a lot, about how in other movies we get traumatized. They bring in the trauma. In some movies, like The Never-Ending Story, we'll go back to episode 1. In some movies, like The Never-Ending Story, you get slammed with trauma at different points. But then they cover it up. Something happy happens, something quirky happens, something fun happens. So you vacillate between these trauma moments and then, well, let's start down here. These trauma moments and then these happy moments. And these trauma moments and these happy moments. And then you get to the end of the movie and it's like, here's been this up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then it's just up, 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 up. And they leave you with this sense of happiness and, you know, regulated trauma where you don't feel like the movie traumatized you. And it's why a lot of people look back on these movies and they go, that movie wasn't traumatizing. And then you break it down and you point out all the scenes and they're like, oh yeah, why did I think that movie wasn't traumatizing? Because they wanted you to not remember the trauma. They wanted you to think about how the movie ended happily. My Girl doesn't end happily. The end of My Girl is the death of Thomas J.
Right.
That's it. That's where My Girl ends. You could stop the movie right there with the death of Thomas J. and not do the next 25 minutes of pain that follows with Veta learning how to mourn. But the reason you need it is because it shows growth in Veta. This is what's important about it. Because we see Veta get traumatized. And we already know that Veta's got trauma. But we see her get traumatized and we see her grow through her trauma. And that actually is the important bit. Even though this is just a big bag of trauma dicks at the end, it's important to notice that Veta grows through her trauma.
And
Go ahead.
The only way out of trauma is through it.
Correct.
You have to process it, because if you don't, it's going to get stuck.
It's kind of like this is a really weird analogy coming from me, anybody that knows me, because we all know that I don't like sports, and I especially don't like things like NASCAR, but I'm going to use a NASCAR analogy here, and it's going to be like, what? But this is why they tell drivers, if an accident happens in front of you, you don't stop. You just drive through it like it's not there. Because if you stop, you're going to fuck up everybody behind you. But if you drive through it, because that car was going so fast when it had its accident, it's probably out of your damn way. And if it's not, the worst thing you're going to do is hit it and get into a bigger accident. And I say that the worst thing you're going to do is that because those drivers are fucking 12-point harnessed in, and after Dale Earnhardt's death now have freaking head harnesses so their heads can't fucking bounce around. So the odds of them dying in their giant roll cage of safety is pretty small these days. And but that's why they tell you to drive through it. But it's the same thing with trauma. If you don't go through trauma, if you don't push through the hard shit, you can't come out better on the other side. And we see Veta push through how it's so hard for her to push through it, but she pushes through. She goes. Go ahead.
No, we forgot.
What?
Did I kill my mom?
We did forget the "Did I kill my mom" scene. I'm just staring right at it too. That's after she comes back after talking to Dad, or after the poem. Or no. Before the poem. It's before the poem. It's after the funeral, but before the poem. She asks Dad if she killed her mom. Yeah. And
because this whole time she's been thinking that since your mom died in childbirth, thinking that she was the one who killed her.
Yeah. And I want to point out that the important thing about that scene, even though we skipped it, and the important thing about her asking that question is that's where she starts to heal.
Because the dad actually opened up and became vulnerable.
Correct. And it lets her know that it's okay for her to open up and become vulnerable, which then leads to her reciting the poem in front of everybody, even though that can be traumatizing in and of itself. She shared her emotions. She shared... This is how Veta gets to her growth. And so...
Right.
This movie will always be an 8. Honestly, if the trauma had started earlier and never ended, this movie would probably be a 10. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, an 8 is the highest trauma rating we've given any movie at this point. Of all the movies we've reviewed, an 8 is the highest we've given. I think a 6 was the highest before that.
Right.
So, we avoided this movie for a reason. And it's because this movie always makes us cry. My eyes are still puffy. You can see how puffy my eyes are now.
Who suggested this movie?
One of the people that's not here watching us.
Allie suggested this fucking movie.
And she's not here watching it.
What the fuck?
She suggested it, and she's not here watching it.
I think the only one that we haven't done on our suggestion is The Stuff by Chill Quill. And I could see us doing that maybe next season.
Yeah.
Because it's like a B-rated horror movie.
Gotcha. And I will say, folks, anybody out there watching that I don't see on my viewers list for people, because I only see 3 watchers, but if you're out there watching, if you've got a movie that you want us to cover, there is a suggestion box down below. Please utilize it. Put movies in there. Because what we tend to do is we pick a movie and then we do a movie from the list of things that you suggested. And then we pick a movie and then we do a suggested movie. Coming up, we have obviously Halloween coming. So we're going to do a movie next month. And then I think we have movies planned for pretty much the whole holiday season, don't we, going forward?
Yeah, the only one that we didn't was November. And we might do Stand By Me unless somebody has another one.
Right.
That they want to do for like family trauma.
And then I think if all goes well over the next couple of months and we've got the time, we're going to try and do 2 in December for Christmas. Because we actually have a lot of Christmas movies we can cover. And no, they're not old. They're not Miracle on 34th Street, and they're not... what's that other shitty one that everybody likes to watch?
The Christmas Story?
Yeah, no, the one with it wasn't even fucking a Christmas movie. Everybody loves it, man. It was one of my mom's favorite fucking movies at Christmas time.
The only one that, I know Miracle on 34th Street, A Christmas Story, Die Hard.
Die Hard's a Christmas movie. I always forget. Everyone forgets that. Gremlins is a Christmas movie, folks, in case you forgot. Sleepy Hollow is a Christmas movie, folks, in case you forgot.
Not a Halloween movie.
No, it's a black and white that everybody freaking the guy goes.
A Wonderful Life.
A Wonderful Life, yes. Fucking hate that movie. I fucking hate that movie with a passion.
I think we started watching it when I was in elementary school, and then we never finished it.
My mom loved that movie. I fucking hate that movie. It's such a terrible movie. Do you know why that movie became a Christmas movie? Because it could go in syndication at the time.
That's right.
Christmas movies were able to be played. It was the one movie that nobody had any control over. That's how that movie ended up being a staple at Christmas time.
It wasn't even a really highly acclaimed movie of its time.
No, it wasn't. Now it's more like a pop cultural artifact that everybody loves, and I hate that movie. Man, my mom loved it. She thought it was the best fucking movie, and I was like, this movie is fucking terrible. You know what movie I would rather watch if I was going to watch a movie? Claymation 1970s, Rudolph the Red-Nosed fucking Reindeer.
There is nothing wrong with that show.
That is the best fucking movie ever. I don't care who you are.
Any of the Claymations in that series?
Right?
I had the whole box set at one time. I don't know what fucking happened to them.
Fucking amazing. Fucking amazing. This is how we tangent, folks. And this is also me winding down from the crazy trauma that we just had to go through. But yeah, so please, if you're out there and you enjoyed the show, we do it once a month. Follow us, come check us out, give us suggestions in the suggestion box. We could always use them, and we always will. But otherwise, folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight. I did. I had fun.
And next month we're doing E.T.
Yes, next month we are doing E.T. Although I still don't understand why anybody was traumatized by E.T.
Did you not see the medical scene?
I did. You know what the scariest scene for me... I'm going to tell you right now, folks. The scariest scene for me in E.T. was that moment where E.T. was like...
When he goes berserk.
That was the scariest scene for me. That was it. That was it. That scene where E.T. was like... On that note, it's been a pleasure, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful week.
To the movies that traumatized us.
It's been fun. Bye.